Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. My name is Oluyemi Adeosho, and I'm excited to have with us yet again one of our very own, Olukunle Onge, who is the lead HR Operations Film House Group. And today he will be sharing with us on the topic running an effective organizational internship program. Olukunle is a seasoned HR professional with over 7 years of progressive experience across diverse HR functions, including HR operations, talent acquisition, performance management, payroll administration, and policy development. He currently leads HR operations at Filmhouse Group, where he drives strategic HR initiatives, ensuring seamless policy implementation, process optimization, and employee experience for a workforce of over 200 staff. Throughout his career, Kunle has successfully partnered with organizations across industries, including technology, travel, and consulting, where he has executed C-suite recruitment, championed performance management framework, and coordinated impactful trainings. Kunle is known for his ability to build and maintain productive relationships with stakeholders at all levels, combining optional excellence with a people-first approach. In his free time, he likes watching movies, reading books, and hanging out with friends. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking to us on the topic running an effective organizational internship program, let's welcome Olukunle. You have the floor, my brother.
All right. Thank you very much, Doctor, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to another learning series this evening, where I'll be taking the topic running an effective organizational internship program. So before I go into it, I'd like to use the opportunity once again to thank Dr. Liemi for another opportunity to take a session on HR mentorship. This has really been a big and huge platform for me to just contribute more to the HR community. Okay. So yes, as HRs, I know that we're all very, very conversant with the concepts around internship, graduate trainee programs, and the likes. We are all very, very management trainee, all very conversant with it. And it's something that we know that it is a part and parcel of our everyday operations, especially as organization begins to scale up and becomes bigger. And in many organizations, some people have used the internship program as an avenue to just get cheap labor. That is not really the intention of internship when it started. If you go down history lane, you understand that internship was not really cultivated as a sort of cheap labor, even though, yes, you don't necessarily need to pay them the same amount you pay someone who is at entry level or has, let's say, has 0 to 1 years of experience and bringing the person on in a full-time capacity. So we're just going to go into a little bit about, okay, what does it take for you to be able to even set up a proper and efficient internship program in your organization where you currently are. So let's start from here. Yes, as we all know, recruitment is one of the cardinal points of HR profession. I don't think there's anybody at any point in your career that you've not had to indirectly or directly be involved with recruitment. Even if you, let's say you started off your career as a compound ben associate or assistant, whatever the least level was in the organization, or even a learning and development associate. At one point or the other, you've been involved in the recruitment process of the organization. It might not be directly, it can be through referrals or through helping a friend, a family member, or an acquaintance in church or wherever to drop his or her CV. That is you being a part and parcel of what the recruitment process in the organization, and is a cardinal point for us as HR professionals. And over time, over the years, it has now become a very daunting, very time consuming, but still, at the end of the day, it is very fulfilling. It's time consuming because sometimes, for even a very little role, as let's say a site auditor or even an HR associate, you spend the next, let's say 3 months, 6 months, trying to just fill that's one role because what you're looking for certain key indicators in each of these candidates. You're looking for certain qualities, certain experiences, certain skills, and sometimes it doesn't come easily. And then sometimes you find the person that has all of these things that you need, but what now becomes the stumbling block is the pay, the salary now becomes a stumbling block. But Yes, that's why it has now become very daunting, very time consuming. Sometimes we spend so long on trying to do this. And in Nigeria as a country, if you're following the trend, if you're following the trend, especially where brain drain is concerned, you know that at this point that we are in, it is as critical as it can be so far. It's as critical as it can be so far. And the incoming workforce, that is your Gen Alphas and even some of the Gen Zs that are coming into the workforce. They are not like your everyday millennials that you have that are looking forward to working a 9 to 5 job. Many of them already, as they're in university, they're already content creators, they're already digital marketers, they're already virtual assistants, they're already doing remote works. So they already have some level of experience. They've been able to spread their wings, so to say. And now there's a shift in the mindset. They're not necessarily looking out for, okay, what can I get from a company? That era of being loyal to one company is fast becoming a thing of the past. Nobody's looking to work in a company for the next 5 years because okay, there's career growth plan for me. If the career growth does not come with the appropriate remuneration by way of salary, benefits, all of that, nobody's looking to stay in the company for the next 5 years. That's why even today you have people who join certain companies and after a year they've seen everything and they're like, oh no, I can't stay here. I need to start looking for new things. So yes, gradually what seemed the bedrock of the society or the success stories of individuals has now become what's it called? It has now become a burden. Before it was always the longer you stayed in the company, the more competent you are. Now some business owners believe that the more you've moved, that's when they want you the most. If you're able to work in a company, let's say 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, it's very funny. It looks, why would you want to employ that kind of person? But there are some business owners that actually look out for that kind of quality in a person because they tend to see that kind of person as what a disruptor. Because if you're moving, especially if you have the right skills, you can sell yourself properly during an interview. They see you as someone that can come into their system and quickly shake things up, put one or two things in place. It might not be a long term, it might not be a long lasting solution, but at least in the short term, they're able to get certain kind of things and all those kind of things. And because recruitment for us as an HR is an ever evolving door, it's not static. You're lucky as an HR person, you work in an organization and in the last 2, 3 months, maybe only one person has left. But if you find yourself in industries that has to do, let's say, hospitality, QSRs, you find yourself in factory kind of settings that you interact a lot with blue collar employees, you know that it doesn't end, it doesn't stop. You are always recruiting. Every month or month you're recruiting. In the months that you're not recruiting at all, you're wondering, okay, what's going on? Or is it that it now looks like you have a breather this month and then the very next month about 10 people just disappear from and you're wondering where's everybody? They just research salary and they leave. So yeah, but even outside of that, if you still even have employees that have stayed in your organization for 10 years, for 5 years, for 8 years, you might want to start looking at, okay, how do I pass on this knowledge that they have, that they're able to accumulate over this long period of years? Or even someone that has joined the organization newly and already has about 10 to 15 years of experience, you might want to also create a structure where they're not just delivering on their job, but they're passing on the experience of that 10 years, 15 years, 7 years, 5 years to other people that are just coming up. And that is where internship programs come in. That is where graduate training programs come in. That is where management training programs come in. And in this, we'll be looking at certain things. So now, yes, why internship? Why do we even want to go the route of internship? Why do we even want to consider that at all? Why do we want to even have that as an option as HR? So yeah, internship started as just something like student attachments. I know one of the very popular things that we do in Nigeria here in our university and polytechnics, College of Educations, monotechnics. We have what we call COS for university. We have IT programs for polytechnics, even though over a long period of time now we've just even the COS we've just called it IT programs. And even when you go to some kind of specialized schools like the School of Aviation, you have to go on IT where they send you to travel agencies to go and work for a period of time. Those are internship programs, and it started mostly as what student attachments, just students going to different companies as part of just to, okay, we've learned in the school, you've been taught the theory aspect. Now going to a company and do what and learn the practical aspect. Not going to a company and now be told, oh, go and get me tea or go and buy maybe some bread down the road. No, to actually learn the practical aspect of what you've been taught in school. And internship it has now become a very strategic forward for talent acquisition, and not just talent acquisition, but also what company branding, positioning your company as what as a company that somebody can grow in. And that's why if I think one of the biggest users of this kind of programs are the banks, even though they use more of graduate training programs. They are the banks. The banks have standard every year. They have people they admit as graduate trainees that go into the system, and then over the years, you see many of them have grown into top positions within different banks, or even within the bank that they came in through, or moved on to other banks and become what a top person. Now, investing in interns is or an internship program is not a waste of time or a waste of funds, because it is actually very capital and human intensive. It is not just a program that you just wake up and say, okay, I want to do it. No. I know that what a lot of us have been doing, we just be like, oh, there's something that is going on. And it's like, we'll just get one intern, I'll just quickly come and sort it. And then when that is over, the person goes. You're not going to get the full reward. You're not going to get the full value if you just take it that way, if you just run it that way, because it is a very strategic move and it's a very cost-effective move. Like I said earlier in my introduction, interns are not necessarily paid the 150,000, the 200,000, the 250,000, even though in certain organizations or certain industries, they earn as much as that, and sometimes even more than that. You can find them, especially in the oil and gas industries, and you know who, all those kind of things. I know you, you know me. Okay, I want my son to come and do internship in your side, but we know it is just a matter of, oh, he's my son, he's like a son to you, just give him something and you offer paid one very astronomical amount of money. I know a place where an intern had gone in, and at the time she was interning, in fact, not really as an intern, she was still serving as at that period, and she was already being paid 30,000. And in that same organization, there were other people that came in as NYSC and were being paid 50, 70,000 thereabouts. Is what we see in our systems these days. And so yes, it's a very cost-effective route to securing. And then when you are able to structure it in the proper way to get the right value, you not tend to attract or retain high potential talents that grow within your system to what? To make a whole lot of impact, because as they grow, they get a sense of loyalty towards your organization, because you are the first person to offer them an opportunity to learn, to grow, to become something. And it's an emotional thing. You're depositing in the emotional bank. They now tend to give you that all. They might not give you the all for the next 10 years, but it might just be for 2 years, but they will still do what? They will still give you that. And already, because they started with you at that stage where in philosophy we say tabula rasa, that means a blank slate. Because they started with you at that point, they imbibe your company culture. They are able to now they become the flag bearers for what company culture should be. And those kind of people, when they grow into positions of power, they're the one that will now be like, oh no, we don't do this way, we do it this way, and all of that. Now, generally, on average, it is there are different numbers, there are different statistics to this, but generally, on the average, we have 53% of interns when they are taken through a well-structured programs that end up transitioning into a full-time role within the organization, 53%. So that means, for instance, if you have 10 interns that go into your program, you'll have every likelihood that what 5 of them become full-time employees. And it's a good number. So it just goes to show what the planning that goes into the program is what now shoots that number up to, let's say, 70%, 80%, or even 100% at every time. Now, 16% of these hires, when they've entered, they now tend to do what? They tend to be the one that now stay longer within the organization. Like I said, you have deposited in their emotional banks. They now feel like, oh, I owe a lot to this company, I owe a lot to this person. They have these emotional attachments to the company, and many of them, even when they do leave the company, they still would probably send business your way and all those kind of things. So I, for one, in this my HR career, I started as an HR intern. It was not really like a fully structured kind of system, but I would say that I learned a whole lot and was what shaped my career going forward in the way I offer my services, the way I work with other people within any organization I find myself in because of that internship experience that I had. And even till today, I still keep abreast with that company. And I'm still sometimes when someone is reaching out to me about services that they offer, they're the first one that comes into my mind. The first comes to my mind, and I'm sending it their way. I still keep in touch, all those kind of things. So that is why a very well thought out, a very well planned um internship program is not just you are depositing something and it's like a sowing and reaping kind of effect, which you just keep on getting more and more. For instance, there's no way anybody wants to tell me that they are going to that company and I'm going to say, oh, don't go and work there because what I had the best of times when I was there. So I'm going to tell you, I'll freely even tell you, oh, yeah, it's a very nice place to work in. And then an intern coming in, they tend to infuse new ideas. They tend to see things differently and they will ask questions that would probably shake the very foundation of some things that happen. And they'll bring in new ideas to challenge certain things. They can ask you, oh, we know that there's traffic everywhere. Why are we coming into the office 8 o'clock instead of 9 a.m.? And then when you're trying to explain, they're telling you that. But if you come into office 9 a.m. and we'll still leave 4 p.m., you'll still get the best out of us. They would definitely ask those kind of questions. Oh, why are we not doing this way? There's a meme I saw recently where a manager had told an intern that he needed 50 sheets of paper. That's A4 paper for printing. I needed 50 sheets. And when the intern brought the paper to the manager, the paper was warm. And he asked, "Oh, why is the paper warm?" And he said, oh, I printed I used the printer to count the 50 pieces, so 50 sheets. So what the intern had done was, well, just went on the printer and just said, okay, let's say photocopy 50 pieces. And then, the printer will definitely bring it out. And when he got that 50, what he just did was just carry that paper and go give to the manager. As this intern executed the instruction, yes, but did he now do it in a way that is new, that many of us would not even think of it? I, for one, will probably go and sit down and start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, till I get to 50. But the internet had gotten it at a very easy way. In fact, in the period while he or she was doing that, I'm very sure he can respond to another email. But if I was there counting to 50, I'm not responding to anything. That means my whole time is there. And those are some of the things that you get to enjoy when you're able to bring in interns that challenge the status quo. So in essence, organization benefit by tapping into fresh energy, and then the interns themselves, they benefit by doing what? By gaining exposure, and they get career ready. Now, laying the foundation for your internship, laying the foundation for your internship. Before we go further, I would like to say that if at any point we have any questions, we can just drop it in the chat box. I would try as much to pause and just take the questions. We will still have room for more questions after the presentation, but during the course, if a question comes to mind, especially on anything that I've said so far, I can always just quickly take a pause and take that question. Yeah, yes. Now back to the slides. So laying the foundations. The first thing that we need to do as HR when we want to propose an internship program is, or if we're tasked with coming up with an internship program, the first thing that we need to do is set out clear objectives. The objectives need to be clear. The reason for opening or the reason for starting an internship program needs to be well thought of and clear. You need to define the why. Why am I starting an internship program? Why am I starting it? Am I doing an internship program just because I want to have an ever ready pipeline of people that can go into certain roles, especially if your company finds itself in an industry that is very, very porous to exit. The attrition rates there is very high. Do I just want to create what? A pipeline? Am I setting up an internship program because of branding? Because companies who have strong, viable internship program that they did as a form of CSR, just giving back to the community. It's a brand something for them. And then interns are also your brand ambassadors. They go out there and they would also, people will ask, oh, did you learn how to do this? Oh, I worked in so and so company. I did my internship there for 6 months, and these are some of the things that I learned. That's a brand advancement for you. And now, also, are you now doing it for like a workforce support or a specific project? Is there a specific project going on in the HR department, in the marketing department, in the finance department, in operations, in retail, whatever department? Are you about to have a specific program or a specific project coming up and you just want to create what? Support towards that program. So you just need to do what? To be clear, set out clear objectives as to why you are running why you want to start an internship program. Now, you need to create what? The structure. Once you now know why, it will now help you to create a structure, especially in deciding what the length of the internship is going to be. Typically, internship programs run from between 3 months to 1 year. I know some people will wonder why 1 year. Well, I've seen someone that was doing internship for 2 years. A well thought out internship program, a well structured one, 1 year is more than enough for that intern to learn whatever it is and even be able to transition into the company if that is the goal. If by the time you are now going into 1 year and a half, into 2 years as an intern, the, I fear for that kind of system because what you are just and the kind of person that is that kind of program, because what you have just told me is that probably this person doesn't want to grow, doesn't have any ambition to grow. And I look at it and I'm wondering, is it that you guys don't have any plan? Because internship programs, like I said before, they are capital intensive and they are human intensive. There's human investment into internship program. It's not just because okay, somebody wants to work there. No, there are certain employees within the organization that need to create time to be a part of that internship program. So if you're taking away that time and then you want to now take it away for the next 2 years, I'm looking at the whole system and I'm wondering what's going on. So yeah, when you know the why, you're able to now decide how long do you want it to be for. You know if it's a specific project, just for project support. If the project is running for just 3 months, that means what the internship is going to be for 3 months. And then once you have decided the length, you can now structure out what the roles, what the responsibilities of the interns are going to be. You can now say, okay, this is what he or she will be handling, or this is what they will be handling when they come in. If, for instance, we are trying to launch a new product and we're bringing in, let's say, we're bringing in tech interns to do maybe like a front end developer intern. I am being that kind of person, you'll be able to just streamline and say, they are working on this aspect of the front end. This is what they are designing for us. You are able, so you know what their responsibilities are. And then that now helps you to do or to decide on who the reporting line will be. Are they reporting to an associate? Are they reporting to an officer? Are they reporting directly to what? To the manager? And you can now decide on what the deliverables are going to be at the end of the internship or even during the course of the internship. And to help you, it is always good to just create a written internship handbook or a policy that just guides all of these, that puts it into black and white and says, okay, yes, this is what we are doing, that we are doing it. And then recruitment and selection. You have to standardize what your recruitment is going to be. How do you want to recruit? Where do you want to recruit from? You're not just if you're not just accepting just anywhere. I know there was a time when some certain universities in the banking industry had been blacklisted. I'm not sure if that has been lifted, but all those kind of things those are some of the things that you take into consideration. Where do I want to recruit from? Am I recruiting from schools, directly from schools? Am I recruiting from NYC? Am I recruiting directly from the service corps? Am I taking someone that is done with their service and looking for a place to work, is not sure what to do? You're standardizing what your recruitment process. You're creating a job description for everybody, and you can now start doing your screening and even doing interviews just to be sure that they have the right attitude for that internship program. Because I'm not sure any company, by the time we go through the course of this, you understand why I've been saying it is capital intensive and human intensive. So nobody wants to invest that kind of thing into someone that is not ready to learn or someone that is not ready to grow. So once this is just you doing what, laying the foundation out for the internship program. So I go again, you need to be clear on what the objectives are, create your program structure, and also do what, look at what your recruitment and selection is going to be like. So yeah, let's take a deep dive. Let's start going deep into this. Now, building the structure, like I said, you need to know why and the rest. Now, the duration, short versus long. A short-term internship is good for brand awareness, but very limited in impact. And short-term internships usually run from between 3 to 6 months, thereabout. Usually run from like 3 to 6 months. Very short-term. It's good for your brand awareness, but you might not get the necessary impact that you're looking for. Now, for long-term ones, they are better for complex projects and even talent retention. And they usually run from like 6 months to 1 year. I will say it again, 6 months to 1 year. There are certain internship programs that run for 1 year and a half, 1 year, 6 months, 2 years. I believe personally, is a personal belief that if you can structure and be very, very detailed in the expectations, the responsibilities, the roles, you can achieve all of that you are trying to expand into 2 years in 1 year. Mind you, internship is not the same as a management trainee program. It is not the same as a graduate trainee program. They're very different. Internship is very, very different from those two categories. Now, you want to decide if it's going to be a paid or an unpaid one. These are one of the things that differentiates an internship from any graduate trainee or management trainee. You pay in all those kind of situations. That's a graduate training or a management training. But in an internship, you can decide if you want it to be a paid one. But you know definitely that a program where you pay, and the better you pay, will attract better quality of candidates more than that one where you're not paying. If you want to even run an unpaid internship program, it is better to even just give them a stipend. It might not be as much as, it might not be so much, but just a stipend that will probably cover like lunch, that will probably cover their lunch for the entire month, or even, or subsidize their transportation for the entire month. Just a stipend to just help them. And then now another thing you now need to look at is what, when you're building the structure, is it a cross-functional internship? Now, cross-functional in the sense is that what, they are exposed to everything within the organization. If the person is an intern, but however exposed to everything between in the organization, this month they can find themselves in HR, the following month they can find themselves in operations, the month after that they find themselves in marketing. They're exposed to all of that. Or even when they are in a department, let's say they're in the HR department, they get to do what? They get to do the full 360 cycle of what an HR would do every day. That is recruitment, learning and development, trainings, payroll administration, disciplinary actions, the full cycle. They get to do what, the full cycle, even when it's just like within the department, or they are specialized. That means what, they come in for one thing and one thing alone in that department. If it's in HR, they come in maybe for just documentations to help to assist in what, in uploading, ensuring that all of the documents, staff documents, are following a checklist, that everything is complete, and then following up with whoever needs to submit one or two documents. Now, what are the deliverables and outcomes? There needs to be signed measurable goals. I'm very sure that already by all of this that I'm already saying, we are looking at it and being like, okay, this is something I also do for my everyday employees. So why do I have to now come and do it for interns also? Yes, you have to do it for interns also, because we are trying to get value for the program that you are that you want to run, or you are running already. You have to get value for it. And that's why I said it is capital and human intensive. Yeah, so you assign measurable goals. upon projects that will now get them to the project completion stage, and then improves process improvements. And they even have to come back with reports. They need to be able to write, okay, at the end of this week or at the end of this month, these are the things I was given to do, and these are what I was able to achieve, and these are some of the shortcomings or some of the obstacles that I faced. And that will also, you are taking that as a feedback, you're getting that data and you're analyzing it, and you're doing what? You're able to now improve on the process for the next batch of interns that you're going to have. For instance, an intern is tasked to create a new onboarding guide, can present tangible results by program's end. So you give them things to do, things that would actually what's called change some of the things that you already currently run within the organization. Now we're looking at recruitment and selection. Like I mentioned earlier, you need to now decide on how do you want to get these interns into the organization? What is the mode of application? How would they be joining the organization? How would they be joining the organization? Now, we have here university career offices. Yeah, you can visit universities and tell them, oh, my organization is into this and would like to be getting interns from, let's say, it can be, let's say, for instance, a financial auditing firm. You can go to a university and tell them, oh, we would like to be getting interns. We would like to be getting people that can come for the IT in the organization and during the course so that they can learn how to do this. And you can also place your ads on LinkedIn, or you can attend career fairs, and you can use referrals also. Those are some of the ways you can do that. And you can partner with professional students groups. Like for us in HR, you can partner with CIPM, because I know there are students that write CIPM, and people do that, have their names on the database. They can always join the organization to just do what, to learn more about HR. Now, for an internship program, you have to focus more on the potential than the experience, because what you are doing is you are training from scratch. And not this is not a 0 to 1 year kind of thing where once somebody has 1 year of experience, you not tell the person, you will not take that person over someone that does not have any years of experience at all. You have to what? So yes, a pause to just answer this question from Dr. Yemi. He says, can interns be given offer letters? Yes, please. Interns are meant to be given offer letters. They are meant to be given. It doesn't have to carry everything that a full-time employee is going to have, but there needs to be a binding contract between you and the intern. It's just for legal purposes and documentation. Because even when an intern joins, you are going to take down his or her personal information, like an employee information form. They need to fill it out that carries, oh, this is my name, this is my details, my next of kin, my emergency contact, all of that. Because while they are working with you, the law sees them as your employee. While they're working with you, there's nothing like, oh, it's not an intern, we don't know anything about him or her. No, they see you as, well, you can just have a separate cabinet that you keep all of those in. Now, how do you handle interns who misbehave or have attitude issues? Can you give them queries? Yes, please, you can give them queries. And that is why it is a program. You can give them query. I'm actually even meant to give them query. Because if your aim is to retain them, bring them in as full-time employees, you need to start you need to start training them, you need to start molding them into what you would want, because you have a culture they are trying to imprint on them. So by the time they are showing some tendencies that you do not want to see in the long run, they have to go through that full cycle process. However, for most intern programs where this is being used as the use of queries and all of that, the idea behind of which that is what really the idea of query and warning letters is for reformation, not necessarily to throw the person out of the program. Is for reformation. And that's why we do interview, because we want to have a feel of how is the person, what kind of mindset does this person have. So that's why, yes, you focus on can-do attitude. A candidate with leadership experience in school clubs may perform one with prior office experience. So this makes me to remember when I started looking for a job. I know one of the things I piled on on my CV was all of the association I was a part of, that was general secretary, that was vice president, all. I just piled everything on. I was like, see, anyhow, I wish I get job, even if it's just we using all of these um extracurricular activities to get the job. So I just piled everything on, even the positions I held in CDS and president and chairman of electoral executive community, all of that. I just piled everything on because what at internship level, you're looking for potentials, you're looking for people who can grow to become leaders, become managers, people who can influence that little circle within the organization. So transparency also in your recruitment and selection. This is not where you're telling them that, oh, don't worry, it's going to be competitive. No, at the point of the interview, you're telling them, see, we are offering you a stipend for this. And that's why we'll be looking for someone that is closer to our location than someone that stays so far. If you know, for instance, if you know you're just going to be paying 50,000 naira to someone that is coming to an internship program, your company cannot be in Aja and then you're giving an offer to someone that is staying in Bagada. You are spending that entire money in 1 week. It can be so. Now, so you share that, the stipend info, you share what the workload expectations is. That, see, we are going to grill you, you're going to go through a lot, and we're going to be expecting a whole lot from you. And then you let them know what the career prospect is. Let them know, okay, as an HR intern, as an operations intern, once you're done with this program and you're successful, you would be given an offer that now transitions you into an operations associate. Or you can have a numbers matrix that says if you, at the end of it, we evaluate you and you meet 70%, you're an operations assistant. If you get to 90%, you become what? An operations associate. And sometimes the person can do so well, show a lot of potential, and then what happens is what? The person becomes lead operations or something like that. Now, you've done all of that recruitment, they are now coming to your system. What are you meant to do? Welcome in an orientation. And at the orientation phase, they're going to do what? They're going to be sharing with them the company vision, the company values, and even some of the success stories. And if you want, you can share some of the not so good times, some projects that the company has worked on, failed, and then we tried again. I think it was about 7 or 6 years ago, I stumbled on a post on Google that was talking about what some of the projects that they've embarked on and has died. I'm very sure if I mention this now, some of us will remember that there was a time when Google, like on your Gmail, you will see to a corner a chat box that said Google Hangouts. Many of us, we don't see it anymore. That was a project from Google that was between, I think that was in 2018. Yeah, 2018, 2019, thereabouts. Google Hangouts, just at the corner there. But today, Google Hangouts is no longer working. Everybody is using, for most people that are on Microsoft, that use Microsoft Office suite, they're using what? Teams to send those messages. But Gmail, Google Office Space, Workspace had Google Hangouts for everybody in the office to use. And even when you have somebody outside of the office but was using a Gmail, you can always reach out to the person using Google Hangouts. So yes, you can share some of those, even those you can share some of those failure stories with them just to make them understand that, see, in this company, we're not afraid to try. We try. If it doesn't work out, we'll go back to the drawing board and we'll see what else we can do. And then from day one, you already provided them with ID card that shows them, oh, I'm an intern, those kind of things. The team, the tools that they need, laptop, all of that they need to succeed, and then you do your team introductions. Now you assign them a mentor or supervisor. Remember, I said there was going to be a reporting line. So yes, you assign them a mentor or supervisor. Now that mentor is their go-to person. Is their go-to person whenever they have an issue. So you cannot, for instance, assign them to someone that you already know has a short temper and is not patient, or someone that you know, if you call now, would respond 5 hours later. That cannot be the kind of person that you're assigning an intern to. It has to be someone that is readily available to offer assistance or very receptive to guiding, because what they will make or mar your entire process. Now, you have to provide them with what the internship, like I said, you create an internship handbook for them. You can even also just use what your company handbook is. That is fine. So you have some policies, reporting line, and even some frequently asked questions, some things that won't necessarily as a new employee, you're trying to find your feet that you will need to just know. Like for instance, who to go to when you have payment issues, when you have if your IT and HR team is very separated, and when you have work tools issues, who would you be meeting, and all those kind of things, you can have that already set up for them. And then social integration, introduce them. They are interns, yes, but introduce them at team meetings. Let people know them. That will help them become a part of the system. It is like the first icebreaker that you can offer to them. Don't just let them enter and then people just all of a sudden see them. We wonder now, who is this? Introduce them. Yes, this is our intern in the finance department that we just recruited. Introduce them, and then you can organize formal, especially when you have like let's say 10 to 20 interns within the organization. You can organize formal events with them, or if within them like interns day, just a day for them to just all of them will come together, hang out, create a bond within them, or even have lunch with executives, just something just to make them always do what? Always feel a part um always feel a part of what of the system. So I'll take a pause and take another question from the chat box from Dr. Yemi, and he says, would you advise interns to work remotely? So if you operate a system, if you operate an organization where you have like hybrid work and everything, in the first month or 2 months, especially if it's like a year program, they don't necessarily need to work from home. They don't necessarily need to work from home. They can be coming, and that is for them just a way to really understand the system, the operations, and even get to interact with other people, not just people within their departments. Then subsequently, they cannot have days to work from home, because the goal also as interns in this kind of program is what? To make them feel like they're a part of the system, not necessarily that they are interns. It's to also make them feel like what they are a part of the system. It's not the aim is not that when there's a public holiday, for instance, the office is closed, you will now say because you are interns, you need to come to the office and continue your work. That's inhumane. That is very, very inhumane. And it can alienate them from the system, from even organization as a whole, it can alienate them entirely. So yes, and then if the company is a fully remote kind of company and you need to have interns in that kind of organization, your structure, the way you build your structure should also be tailored towards that kind of experience, of okay, they should still be like team bonding activities that you do online with them, that they will come on. If you're having let's say for instance town hall meetings, the interns must be there. It is not that okay, oh, you're not a part of the system. No, they have to be there. Team meetings, knowledge sharing sessions, all those kind of things, they need to be there, because the goal is also to make them feel like they are part and parcel of what? Of the organization. So yes, the learning and development of the interns while they are there. Now, you will schedule different workshops on soft skills, communication, presentations, things that will guide them, help them in their careers, help them while they're in the company, effectiveness, time management, soft skills. Then it will just be embedded in the program. In some days, some weeks, they will have times that they will go for certain kind of trainings and all of that. So there needs to be the training session. Now, rotational assignments. So within a team, you just rotate them. They're not necessarily just doing one thing all through. Even when they come in as specialized to just handle something, sometimes just give them one or two things outside of that specialized. You never can tell what they'll be using as and going forward, what will now become their major interest. Now, shadowing, so they need to have someone that that they follow around in the organization. So, and like I already mentioned, you don't isolate them. They can't be, let's say, for instance, a strategic meeting within the department, and then you say intentional attend. No, they should be a part of that meeting. In fact, if a staff is going outside to meet with a client, you can ask that they go with the intern just so what they have an understanding, they see how you operate. I know in my organization we have interns, and in the HR team we have an intern also. And for every time I visit locations and I'm in the office and I'm going, I tell her, follow me, let's go together. So we go together, and then the things I am doing as I'm moving around, checking the screens, checking the staff quarters, I'm taking her along with me. Sometimes I'm even the one that's telling her, okay, do this one, go and do this one, do this, check that place for this, and this. When she comes back, I ask her, did you document it? Oh, I didn't take a picture. Okay, go back, take a picture. What I would have normally done, I now just help. I just direct her to do it, just so that what she has that holistic kind of experience. And I know that definitely she goes on to a new organization, and she's she now becomes an HR person. She'll remember that experience, and it is something that she would also do in that new place. Now, assign them to real projects. Let them take ownership on certain things that they do. There are certain things even I am doing currently. I know, okay, I've not started with like really high level things, but I think, yeah, we're trying to recruit for team members the other day, and I was the one handling that session at that time. She was in the office, was just the two of us in the office, and I called her. I said, "You're joining me in this interview. We're to interview 10 people that day." So when I was done with the first five, we're taking a break, and I told her, "Oh, the next five, you're going to be handling the interview. I'm not going to ask any question. I'm just going to sit and watch you do the interview." And at the end of the when she was done interviewing those five, I asked her, "Okay, what's your feel?" She told me, "What's your recommendation?" She told me that, and I told her, "Okay, these are some of the things that you said. You should have said. You should have said it this way." Just guiding her and mentoring her. But at least she can say, because out of those five, I think, yeah, we made sent of her to two. She can say that at least she recruited two that I know of as at that time. She recruited two staff into Film House. So yes, assign them to real projects, let them take on real tasks. Now, mentorship and coaching. So yeah, supervisors accountability. Now, the supervisors that you have assigned them to, they need to be able to track the intense deliverables and provide coachings. They need to track the interns, deliverables, and provide coaching. There's a question here from Dr. Yemi. How can you prevent interns from leaking company secrets? All right, so I will not take that question now because there's a part of the presentation slides that already addresses that. Yeah, so once I get there, I'll definitely refer back to this question. So yes, you now must track the interns, deliverables, and be able to provide coaching. That means even you as the HR, you need to what you need to be following up with supervisors to ensure that what they are delivering on what they were assigned to. Now there should be weekly check-ins, monthly check-ins, and this will help you identify certain gaps quickly, early, and then it doesn't need to be so long. And that's one thing many people don't always understand about meetings. And I wonder why a meeting that can take 10 minutes, we're there for the next 1 hour, and I'm wondering what's going on. When you know what you're going into the meeting for, it doesn't need to be so long. You know you're just going in for a check-in, just want to be able to be, okay, you're meant to do all of this. How have you done it? What are some of the challenges that you faced, and you that has a broader view can help do what quickly cover up for that. And then you have to encourage them to speak up. You have to encourage them to speak up, because there's this thing about title in Nigeria that's really, really I'm not just Nigeria. I think it happens across the entire world, in the corporate world. When somebody comes in as an intern, especially with the way you receive them, you onboard them, you make them feel a part of the system, they tend to be just isolated, keep quiet, just be looking, observing. They will see things and they will not say anything. And I think sometimes even culture plays a role in this, because most of our culture in Nigeria, or let me say all of our culture in Nigeria, places a demand on people who are younger, who are no more experienced to do what to always keep quiet when they're in the presence of elders. So yeah, but you need to encourage them to what? To speak up. Now, provide them with constructive feedback. So you use I wrote here that you use what the SBI model. And what does the SBI model talk about? The SBI model is just saying that one situation. So you talk about the behavior, what had happened, the impact, and situation, behavior, and then the impact. So what happened, how they reacted, and what the impact is all about. So an example is that you just say, okay, during yesterday's team call, you didn't share updates, which is the behavior. This delayed the group's work. That is the impact. So you're not just shouting at them. You're not. So you need to just be able to constructively take them through and pinpoint the exact situation. For instance, yesterday I assigned you to change the reporting lines of all the employees in on each department to their management, to their managers. But you have not done that as at this morning, and this staff wanted to go on leave, but a leave request went to the wrong manager. What have you now done? The situation, the behavior, what happened, what the attitude was towards it, and then what the impact is on the business and on the person. Now, what are some of the legal and ethical considerations when it comes to interns? The first thing that you need to do is you need to ensure that they are working within the legal working hours, no unnecessary extension. So people don't resume by 9. And you're telling that because you're an intern, you have to resume by 8. There has to be commensurate pay or a stipend to them, and ensure that the working conditions meets the labor law. The working conditions have to meets labor law. Now, fair compensation to them, even small stipends to cover transport and meals, showing goodwill, provide them with a safe environment. Just because they are interns does not mean they can be bullied or be harassed. They are still your staff. They are not just your full-time employees. They are still your staff. So you should be able to provide them with a safe working environment. Now, to the question that Dr. Yemi had asked about how do you stop interns from leaking company secrets? Now, for certain kind of roles, because not just every role, let's say like an legal intern, HR intern that will handle staff documents and the likes, even finance intern that was not just the payables and receivables, let's say handling bank reconciliation. Those kind of people need to sign NDAs, and they need to understand what an NDA is and the impact of breaking an NDA. So they are meant to sign NDA. You need them to sign NDA. If they're working on sensitive project, let's say like building an app for a client that is very sensitive, they need to also do what to sign NDA. So the same NDA your full-time employee is signing, they need to sign it. But for them now, you need to explain to them why they're signing the NDA and the impact of breaking such NDAs, the legal complications of breaking NDA. So that's one of the ways that you can guide against interns doing just going and leaking secrets. So now transition and retention. So having done all of this, at the end of the internship program, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, however long it is, even if they're transitioning into your organization, please either of, but is recommended to do both, but either of certificates or reference to the intern saying that, oh, they've gone through your internship program and you're satisfying them, or you're now providing references and you're writing out some of the things that they handled while they were in the organization and even their attitude. I got one of such recommendation letter, and when I read it, I was really happy that I could even get something like that. When I got my reference, I was really happy. It leaves a lasting impact. Now they are being transitioned into your organization or not, conduct an interview for them, exit interview. I was making jests while doing this that a lot of organizations, if we actually do take the data we receive from exit interviews, if we actually do take those data, a lot of organizations will not be where they are today by way of even company culture or whatever. They will not be where they are today. So collect the data and use that to work what? Use that to work on your program to make it more robust and impactful when necessary. And then offer jobs to the top performers. And then if within your organization you do not have any opening at the end of the internship program, you can always outsource them. You can always reach out to the larger HR community and say, oh, this person just went through our HR internship program. These are some of the qualities. If you need somebody to start with you, just less at entry level, and have people ready. And in that way, your company can even start making alternative revenue from there because you can start collecting a fee for every candidate that you outsource to or that you refer to other organizations and they ended up being accepted. You can create what also an alumni network for them, LinkedIn group, alumni newsletter, just something that you just keep sending to them and they'll let you know. These are some of our new strides. That's some of the new things that we are doing. You know, how you guys even doing all those kind of things. You can just be sending that. And like I said, the place I intern at till tomorrow, I still refer businesses there. I'm just one of the people that has gone through the internship program. I want to believe that there are also others that do that. Now, how do you measure the success of your internship program? How do you measure the success? Performance evaluations. You use rating tools to measure punctuality, collaboration, and technical skills. Punctuality, collaboration, and technical skills. So I'll just take a pause and go through some of the questions in the chat box. Dr. Emi says, should interns go through the same rigorous recruitment process like staff? Not necessarily. They don't necessarily need to go through the same rigorous process, but the process you set up for interns will be determined by the why you are starting the internship program. The why would determine what your recruitment process is going to look like. If you're just looking to just like create brand awareness, you're not really going into in-depth development of the individual, then you don't necessarily need to create a psychometric, a qualitative, and all those kind of tests and every assessments and all those kind of things. You can just, oh, who wants to learn on this, they just come, whatever the case is, and then you move on. But if you're looking for in-depth building, then yes, they might need to go through a very rigorous, because what notice you're looking for is you're looking for somebody that is willing. You're not looking for someone that just wants to while away time. You're not looking for someone that just wants to faff. Because having gone through this, you can see that it is intensive, it is human intensive. People will be drawn in from different aspects. Now, is there any law that guides in intense compensation? There is no law that guides intense compensation. There is no law that guides intense compensation. The same way there are no laws apart from minimum wage that guides what each company will pay to every staff within an organization. And then this question now, the next question says, can companies pay them below the minimum wage? So if you are paying them below the minimum wage, that means what you are offering them stipends. That means what you're offering them is what is stipends. However, we just need to be fair in the payment structure that we set up for interns because the better you pay, the better the quality of the kind of people and the better with the quality of work that they will want to give to you, because money is a motivating factor to everyone out there, even as interns. Now, Uncle K is asking, to what extent can we expose interns to as regards confidential information, to the extent of what will not jeopardize companies? Because even as full-time employees, we are all not privy to sensitive information about the companies, even as full-time employees. We are all not privy. There are certain people in certain departments that don't know anything about things that go on in their departments. So it's the same thing that applies to what applies to interns. It's not everybody that should know everything that is going on. There are still those that you tell certain things, there are those that you don't say anything to. So yes. Now, measuring your success, continuing from there, and then in intern feedback surveys, they need to rate the supervisors, they need to rate the trainings and the overall satisfaction with the program and everything that they've learned, conversion rates, how many interns accepted the full-time offers. You know, I had mentioned that we have about, on average, there is 53% of interns transition into full-time employment, and the global benchmarks ranges from 40 to 70%. That is the global benchmark for conversion rates of interns. Now, the ROI matrix compare recruitment savings versus the program cost. Now, what is the cost of the program? Compare it, especially at the end of the what was it called? At the end of the internship program, when you transition one of the interns to full-time employment, you cannot compare what the recruitment savings is like if you had gone out to recruit as against what the program cost is. Because this is what is now going to inform the board, the MD, to either continue or stop the internship program. Now, for example, hiring from an intern pool saves about 50% in recruitment cost. Now, this price may differ from organization to organization depending on how you structure your internship program. So yes, yeah, I have just drafted a little bit of what an internship schedule would look like in the period of 6 weeks. So this is a 6-week internship program. This is what it's going to look like. Sorry, please just a minute. Okay, yes, awesome. I have just come up with a 6-week plan and what it looks like. So you can see here now, you can see my screen very well. You see that in week 1, what you have is orientation and HR overview. So now this plan is for an HR intern. This plan is for an HR intern, and just for 6 weeks. You can make it more robust. You can drop a plan for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. This is just for 6 weeks. Now, in week 1, orientation and HR overview. On Monday, when the person comes in for the first time, there's a welcome session and HR department overview with the HR department. The outcome is the intern needs to understand the HR structure and objectives. Now, the HR manager does not, the people responsible here, they don't necessarily need to be the same thing. If you're copying from this, it can be anybody, but the outcome might not even be this. You can just come up with yours. Now, from 11 to 1, the HR officer will not take the intern and just walk him or her through what the company policies and HR procedures. The outcome is they are meant to know what the HR policies are. Now, on Tuesday, between 9 to 1, they meet the team, the HR team, and roles introduction. The HR coordinator will take this. So now this meeting the team is that what you now meet each individual, what they do, meet the team and understand each person's responsibilities, take time out to just take the intern through all of that, through the 360 of individual, what they do. Now on Wednesday, from 9 to 4, the intern is now being taken through a training by the talent acquisition team on what? On recruitment and selection process. Okay, this is what we do for recruitment. This is how we go about recruitment. This is our recruitment process. This is how we now select everything, the full 360. And the outcome is what? Learn the recruitment process. Now on Friday, 2 to 4, network session with HR staff, just like a hangout or something, just something for them to just relax at. Now in week 2, we now have recruitment support. Monday to Friday, the HR intern will be assisting with CV screening, shortlisting, and interview coordination. And this is the person in responsibility is what? The HR officer. The outcome is what? Practical recruitment exposure. Now, on Thursday, during the week of week 2 to each Thursday of the week of week 2 and week 3, there should be a midweek review and feedback session, tracking the performance, tracking what they've learned, how they're feeling, just get a pulse of everything. Now in week 4, HR records and compliance, Monday to Friday, 9 to 4. So they're meant to assist in what's updating staff files and HR database. And now this is handled by the HR records officer, whoever is responsible for that. Now the outcome is what? Hands-on HR record management. They learn hands-on. On Friday, there will be a training of labor laws and compliance. So either the HR or the legal will take them just through this. Now, what is the outcome? That the intern learns key employment laws in that time. On week 5, employee relations and training, Monday to Thursday, observe and assist with staff induction, training, logistics. The outcome is what? They should be able to learn induction and training coordination. On Friday, 2 to 4, there will be a workshop, conflict resolution and employee engagement, soft skill development. Now, week 6, which is the final and project wrap, Monday to Thursday, they'll be asked to prepare and present an HR improvement proposal. So that means what? All the things that they've been doing in the week 1 up until 5, they're now meant to go and sit down, write everything out, and look and suggest areas of improvement. And they're meant to come up with that as a project and then present it. And on Friday, the final presentation and evaluation from the panel, HR and other supervisors, every single person that they've had interaction with that have had at one point to shadow or to take them through something. And once they're done with that, there's feedback giving, and then there's a certificate and award ceremony, and that wraps up the 6 months program with them. Now, some questions from Dr. Yemi. Can a company do background check for interns? Any need to do reference or ask for guarantors? Please ask for guarantors. Please ask for guarantors. Please, cannot be stressed enough. Please ask for guarantors. As regards doing background checks, we know background checks is not free of charge. You would, what is it called? You'll be paying for that service. I think that is something that the company can decide if they want to also add to a part of their employee cost. If they also want to add that to their employee cost for the organization. Now, in conclusion, internships are strategic HR tools. They are not for temporary staffing. Internship is not for temporary staffing, just to fill in a void. They are strategic HR tools. Now, the most successful programs balance learning and contribution from the interns. There needs to be a strong supervision and feedback system. This is non-negotiable. Now, your interns at the end of your program should be able to leave as advocates and potential hires. Thank you all. That brings us to the end of my presentation. Thank you all for listening so far. Please, if you have any questions or contributions, now is the time. You can please raise your hands and I'll just call on us. Any questions or contributions, please?
There is a question from Dr. Yemi on the platform.
I think I've been able to address all of it, but I'll just go back and check again. Okuke, please, the floor is yours. Yes.
Thank you, Kunle, for this presentation. We often try to, or probably we often trivialize the use of intern, but thank you for spotlighting it and then bringing the real, value out of it to us. Very, very insightful. Thank you so much. I was just wondering that where organizations make use of interns back to back, you will call it like pseudo use of staff, but then they bring in interns year on year, month on month, and they use them like that. Is there any regulation against that? And what would you advise, in such organizations to do? They never keep them. They come in and even though they see very good potential in some of them, but rather let them go and then ask more to come, use them like that, pay stipend. So that's my question.
Okay. Thank you, Uncle K. Some part of it was breaking, but I think I got the gist of what the question is. That I'm addressing companies that just use them literally as cheap labor. So every month on month, every year on year, people are joining as interns, leaving, even the ones that have potentials. leave, they've contributed so much to the organization, but they still are let go and all of that. Yes. And if there's any regulation on internship, currently, at least to the best of my knowledge, in so far in the research I've done where that is concerned, there is no regulation where interns are concerned. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, I stand to be corrected. I think the law is very, very silent where interns are concerned. Currently, so far, might not be fully silent, but the law is largely silent on that. So yeah, so to the best of my knowledge, there are no regulations. And what do I say to companies that are just taking interns, literally use them as cheap labor? I can't really say much to them. The only thing I can advocate to them is they should really look at their system. They should really look at what their aim is where interns are concerned. Because if you're just using them for cheap labor, you would get your cheap labor. You would, but are you building a system that lasts? Are you building an impactful system? Because it's just like saying they get what was it called? They recruit an employee every year. That's literally what they are doing. And what happens over time is that the culture, the system will become eroded. I know that recently we've had to do like an intervention program in a location where, because the MD quickly noticed that, see, the way people are leaving my organization, they don't even know what the culture is, because somebody joins today and in 2 months, person has left, we are doing another training, you have not really learned, and then all of a sudden, it's as if one entire location just has new staff all through. It now became a matter of urgency, so I got consulted for that, and then I had to sit down with the MD and go, okay, what, even you, the visionary, what is your company's culture? So he had to download all of that to me. I had to now go back, sit down, come up with a training slide. We now had to implement that from the location that he first noticed. We now implemented that, went through every what's it called? Went through every level of what the culture should be in the organization, training all over from management down to the last person. Because what happens when you just have people coming in, going out, is that your culture system will get eroded. You won't have it. And how often does MD or anybody want to train someone and say, okay, this is why we do what we do? How often really does anybody want to do that training? So the only advocacy I can do to such organization is, please sit down and look at what do you really want where the internship program is concerned. What do you really want? That's why the first thing I said was clear objectives on the internship program. Even if you want just cheap labor, do you understand the impact of cheap labor on your organization? So yeah, that's what I will say to that. So some questions have been dropped in the chat box. So I'll just quickly also address those questions. Should new interns be employed at specific time or twice a year or on a case-by-case basis? So the answer to that is all yes. And this is why I said all yes. Now, if you have a program, you can have specific period where interns come in. A program, you can say, okay, every May, June, we get interns into the organization, into every department. So that means between January to March, all departments need to submit a requirement for interns. How many interns do you need and why do you need those interns? So that in April, what does HR do? HR looks at all of those requirements and then start pushing out, approve the ones that need to be approved and start pushing it out. And then by May or June at the latest, all the interns to the department will come in and they go through that program. Now, it can be case-by-case basis, because there can be new projects that spring up that there is need to have additional manpower, but not necessarily a full-time employee or a contract employee. Because let's say, for instance, they're handling mostly kind of very administrative role in that project. It's not something so strategic or in-depth that needs so many years of experience. So that is where the case-by-case basics coming. As I said, the answer to that is what? Yes. The next question is, can interns work and be used as intern beyond 2 years? So I know during the course of this, at the earlier stage, I said one of the things is if you're able to map out a very detailed and strategic program, 1 year is more than enough for you to have an intern work in your organization and either transition into a new role within the organization or is graduated from the program to go look for new opportunities outside. But by the time you're keeping somebody as an intern for over a year, you don't want to fall the risks of what? Of affecting such a person's morale. One, two, create a sense of there is no growth for me here, even in the person or in the mind of someone else that now joins as intern, because they're going to talk and the person going to like, I've been intern here for over a year, and he's looking like, why are you intern for over a year? Because what every decision, I said this one of the trainings that I've had to make. I said every decision and indecision of HR is a policy that affects the morale of the organization and staff within it. Every decision and indecision of HR. So you don't want to just keep people in 2 years internship or 3 years or 4 years, and they're carrying that placard of intern. We even know what it means when somebody is just an associate for 2 years, 3 years, no matter how poor the performance is. It doesn't create the right morale in that person or people that are coming after. Because everybody's going to look and be like, so you have been on one position for the past 2 years. They've not promote you, they don't increase your salary, nothing. And you are here. Those things out. People love to work in companies where after a year, even if it's 50,000, I put on my salary. Then after 2 years, even if okay, if I was assistant, just change it for me to associate or assistant too, or something. Because that is what keeps the morale going. And I'm not saying reward bad performance, but I'm just saying if you're watching out for your staff morale, there's certain things 2 years in an internship, you might run the risk of breaking the morale of such a person or people that will come after. The next question says, are NYSCs considered as interns too? Yes, you can consider them as interns and you can consider them as graduate trainees. It depends. Because largely, interns in most organizations are not people that have degrees already or they are done with the NYSC. In many organizations, are just students, people that are still in university. Those are usually interns, people that are in university, and then sometimes it's people that have graduated. So yes, you can consider NYC, especially if the person, because I know there are many organizations that an NYC person that goes there with his or her letter, they will be interviewed and asked, okay, do you see yourself in this company after 1 year? And when the person like, no, I'm going back to my village in Abuja, thank you, rejected. Because the company is not ready to invest all of that into somebody that will leave after NYC. So yes, you can also. And should interns have HMOs, get year-end gifts, etc.? They might not have HMOs, but you can create an avenue for them to be reimbursed on costs of taking care of themselves while in employment. They might not have HMO. And if you check very well, I don't want to be a brand ambassador for any HMO on this platform. If you check very, very well, there are many HMOs out there now that for as low as 2,000 naira every month, you can access what's it called, healthcare. So it might not be as expensive as what the other well-known brands would give to you. Now, as regards year-end gifts, for morale, so if for instance you're giving 25 kg of rice to all full-time employees, you can give them 5 kg or 10 kg. Because if they take it, they're telling their families at home. Just it's the family that will tell you that place, they're very nice, that your organization. No, you have deposited something in their minds also. And you remember during the course of this training, I said that you include them in all of the activities that go on within the organization. One of the things that because when I was doing my internship and I was to leave, and I was telling many of the full-time employees that, oh, I was leaving, that my internship was over. They were like, Kunle, sorry, you're an intern. I said, yes, I've been interning since I joined the organization. They said, oh, no, that they knew that I was interning, but they thought after 3 months that I'd already done, that the way I've been working, the things I've been doing, and all those kind of things, that it doesn't look like someone that's been interning. I said, I've been interning. And that was the kind of structure, the kind of way my managers at that time took my internship. And it made me feel like a part and parcel of the organization. When it was year end, there was nothing like, okay, well, we gave other people 25 kg, you will not take 10 kg. Everybody got 25 kg. I also got 25 kg of rice. Like, it was the same thing all around. When I went on board there were certain things that were in the onboarding pack. I got the same thing like a full employee was going to get. So what you are doing is you are creating a um you're creating a you're creating a sense of belonging in those interns, and that is when they're able to now even give you more. They're able to um I'm sorry, I just saw a question that made me laugh. You're able to now get more from them. So yeah, the question I saw that made me laugh was, should organizations enter into a bond with interns or trainees? Oh, before I address this question, please, Victoria has her hands up. Oh, Victoria, please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Kunle. Maybe you should just go ahead and answer the question because I have it. I'm raising my answer because of the question that I want to ask.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So, should organizations enter into a bond with interns or trainees? Now, I know I took a session on bonds, or bondage, a few weeks ago, where I stated that one of the things that need to be looked at is fairness in when you are trying to draft a bond or give a bond to anybody, is fairness. Now, I won't outrightly say no to this question, but one thing I want to say is, what is the aim of the bond that you are giving to the intern? What is the aim of the bond that you're giving to the intern? I want to believe that if you're giving a bond to the intern, that means you're sending that intern on a training that is costing the company nothing less than ₦1 million. Nothing less than ₦1 million. So it should not be, for instance, a 10,000 naira training. I don't think that should be 10,000 naira training and then you're now giving that intern a bond. So the reason for the bond
Ladies and gentlemen, please let's bear with Kunle. He seems to be having some challenge with his network. We're trying to see how we can get him back quickly so that he can come back and answer the questions that has been lined up for him. Please just bear with us. Shortly, he will join us. Thank you.
While we wait, if anyone has any contributions, this is a good opportunity to also share on the subject matter. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Abimbola. I just to buttress Kunle's point on bond. I really do not think you should be signing or making an intern to sign a bond. While bond is not illegal, but the risk of being able to even enforce it is another problem entirely. Instead of signing a bond, because internships are typically, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Internships are typically, short-term engagement, probably towards employment, and there are always expectations and all. Yes, you might say probably you invested in the intern, just as Kunle was talking about before he left. That is probably you invest in trainings that is costing you millions of naira to get this intern trained, and you feel like, okay, if I train this intern, I don't want this intern to take all my money and all my investment, and then after the internship say that I would not be working with me, I would not be looking forward to me converting him or her for full-time employment. So let's sign a bond. So, but the thing about it is, or maybe you are giving the intern like sensitive client data and several other things like that. But instead of doing the being able to enforce it is another thing entirely. Just like the labor law says, you cannot force an unwilling employer on I forgot, sorry, I'm trying to remember how that is put, but the main thing is you can't force a person that wants to work, that doesn't want you on. If this person does not want you, you can't force the person to want you. The same thing goes, that's on the time of employer, and the same thing goes with employee. If this employee doesn't want to work with you, you can't force the person to want to work with you. There are instances where these interns or even employees that are even your full-time employees would not even tell you that they want to leave. They will just abscond. You will not just leave them, you will not just see them. So instead of doing that, I would suggest that probably you should consider NDA, non-disclosure agreement, or probably you guys should sign a kind of agreement where training repayment agreement, where probably the amount you invest on their trainings, they get to repay you. Or maybe internship agreement that says that, okay, this is the duration of your your internship with us, and signing a contract that says that, okay, you're going to be trained for so day, for so weeks or so months, after which you're going to be working with us. Or instead of signing a bond, just do like a contract that stipulates how many, the duration of the internship, and probably work with you and all. That way, you could be able to probably enforce that more than signing a bond. One of the risk of this bond thing is there's reputational risk there. The moment people hear bond self, they would, some of us were already smiling when we see the word bond, and somebody's already asking about bond when it comes to internship. That's what it looks like even to the outside world. Like, you hear people like, people are not serious. You're signing a bond with an intern. Is that how desperate you people are? Stuff like that. So instead of that, I would suggest you find an alternative way to keep your interns, or probably get your investment back as against signing bonds with them. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
So,
Thank you,
Kunle is
Victoria.
back now.
Yes, well, thank you, Victoria. Apologies. Nigerian network happened to me. So yes. I can't see the questions anymore. I don't know if they can just be reshared with so that I can just address.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to see it somewhat like
Yeah.
also a CSR, corporate social responsibility. Because if you train maybe 20 interns, in future, maybe 2, 3, 4, or 5 may work for you. some will not come back to work for you.
Hi, Kule. That was the last question. There's no other questions that you need to answer. The bond thing was the last question on the chat.
All right, thank you, Victoria, for that. I think we'd like to ask a question before.
Okay, yes. So I wanted to ask, because in my organization, for example, NYC is also under our internship policy. We have NYC, we have externs, we have interns, all under the internship policy. But
Yes.
how do you get to measure the competence and the quality of the NYCs that you're bringing in, especially when you are an organization that wants to convert NYC to, entry level roles? How are you able to how do you make sure that you're getting quality NYCs without having to take them through tests, assessments, or examination? This is why I'm asking this. I don't know, maybe any of us have noticed NYC call-up letter, or that letter that they sent to, that they give them to take to your organization when they've posted them to your organization. Underneath, if you have not noticed before, maybe the next NYC that comes to your office, check the letters. You will see that underneath they say it is written that you're not permitted to actually assess them, to take them through any assessment, to take them through any test or whatever. And this is kind of bothersome, because how do you assess these people, especially when you want to convert them? Does it mean that you're either rejecting or accepting them and you're not able to take them through training? Or how can an HR try to make sure that you're assessing someone without assessing someone, like without going against this, because this is legal now. It is in the letter that you are not permitted to assess them, you're not permitted to take them through tests or whatever. Thank you. That's my question.
Okay, so if we're following the tenets of the law, there's really no way around it. But I know that one of the things that so I'll use one experience that I've during my interview sessions, or one of the interviews that I usually do. I've had a time when I was meant to interview a person, and to be very honest, I was going on lunch that day. I was going to go have my lunch that day outside of the office. So what I did was I just told him, I said, let's take a stroll. So we went together, we were just walking on the road, and I was just asking random questions. It was a gist, in fact. We're just gisting all through. I don't think I asked any question that has to do directly with the job, or just a general kind of gisting and all those kind of things with this candidate. We got to where we're going to eat. He didn't want to eat, and I was like, no, 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 feel free. I got lunch for him. And we went back to the office. When we're done in the office, when we went back to the office, I asked him, okay, what's the salary expectation? And he just looked at me like, have I done the interview? I said, yes, I've interviewed you. And he was very bold that day. He asked me, but he didn't ask me anything to do with the job. And I said, the entire conversation we had already tells me the kind of person that you are, and if I would like to employ you. So please, can you just let me? Yeah. And I asked him what his salary expectations were and everything. We ended up making an offer to him, and I can tell you that by the time I was leaving where I was, he was one of the top performers within his department. We still see once in a while, and he still makes reference to it, that is one of the most interesting interviews that he has ever done, where they didn't ask him anything to do with the job. It was just a gist. And so it can be something that we can also employ. But even though I will still, now that you mentioned it, I actually will go back and look at what the LIC call-up letter says and be very, very sure.
All right.
Yes,
Thank
I
you
know you're
very
asking
much.
about NYC. posted freshly to your organization. I
No, no,
just
no.
use that
That
as an
response was not for you, Kunle. It's for somebody said I should ask their supervisor. So
oh,
I think
okay.
the person was thinking that maybe
Oh,
interns are already in the system. So I was trying to tell the person that this is not an intern in the
yeah.
system. This is somebody that is coming out from the outside. NYC is posting this person to you. You want to confirm if you should pick this person or not. What does this person has? Especially when you work in field or sectors where, like law firms, like medical, you want to be
Yeah.
sure that this person knows
Yeah.
what this
Those are
person should
so
know.
yeah.
For
So
example,
even
sorry,
for law
sorry,
firm,
for example, now, an NYC, somebody that just, a doctor is posted to your hospital for NYC, you will want to be sure that this person actually even know a lot of things that he or she should know. And there is the posting letter that is saying that you should not take them through assessment, through examination or test. So do you understand what I am saying?
yes, I do understand what you're saying. So that's why. So I understand the peculiarities of the law industry. During the course of trying to prepare these slides, I came even I've already known what extends were. I came across it again and I went deep dive and understand the peculiarities of the law industry, of even the medical field. I understand those peculiarities. And it was, I think, one of those things that informed NYC, including that as a clause, which was why I used that example of the interview I had with the candidates where I didn't even ask anything that had to do with the job. I was just having a conversation. We went to eat, we came back, salary expectation, employed the person at the end of the day because as far as I was concerned, that was the best candidate I spoke to in that recruitment process. And by the time I was leaving the organization, one of the best performers in the organization, in the department. So, and again, there was a time when a particular school was blacklisted. Some schools, in fact, were blacklisted across the banking industry. So even if you're a good person or bad person, as far as you went to a particular school, you're blacklisted. I'm not saying now that in law firms such things happen and all. So you can necessarily one of the things even as HR that we've had to develop our skills is when the person walks in, the way they are dressed, their grooming and all those kind of things. It says a lot about the person also. Those are some of the things that even schools look at when you come there with your NYC call up letter before they reject you, like schools, secondary schools and the rest, and they will see the way you are dressed. They're like, that cannot be a good example to what's it called to the students, so they reject on that. So you can, I think, time to be corrected, you can still do what's it called, have a gist with them, just an interactive session to just, and that way you're now interacting in that interaction you should be able to deduce what the social skills looks like. But one thing I'm going to do is once I get to the office, I'll try and lay hold of the LNIC call-up letter. I'm very sure that there will be a copy in my office. I'll lay hold of it. I'll read through it again, consult with my legal team, and I'll probably, even though I know you work in a law firm also, but there's never an island of knowledge. So I'll consult with them and do maybe further research, and then I'll definitely get back to you on that before the week runs out. Um, yeah, as a prerequisite for our acceptance. It's okay. No problem, Victoria. I'll definitely get back to you on this question because today is Sunday, tomorrow is Monday. We all need to start preparing for a very lovely week that we're about to have. Like Etini said, you can have a casual chat session with the individual, not necessarily an interview or examination. So thank you all once again. Thank you all for the questions, for the contributions. Thank you all for joining the call. And once again, thank you, Dr. Yemi, for this opportunity to take another webinar session for the HR community. I'm really, really grateful for this platform. I'm hoping to be back very soon. I think I'm even going to be back this week again for another session. So thank you all once again. Thank you, Dr. Yemi.
Okay, thank you so much, Kunle. Thank you for this fantastic, insightful, and very enlightening presentation. presentation. I think at this point, we should all be able to, unmute and show our appreciations to this fine gentleman that made this presentation to us. Please, you can also share. You can also show your emoji.
Don't let your head start to be swelling, Kunle, because they said fine gentleman. Thank you very much, Kunle. Thank you. We've learned a lot.
It be the people that know you. It be them.
Thank you, Kunle. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
This
Thank you,
was a
Kule.
very insightful session.
so much.
Thank you.
Very insightful. Yes. Thank you for reminding me of Gayemi. Very insightful.
You have provided
God
solutions
I
to
beg. God I beg.
some of my